FLM, wide open thinking, world-class work, and far-reaching results. Now with locations in Minneapolis, Columbus, Indianapolis, and Washington, D.C.
A strategic marketing and communications company dedicated to serving clients who specialize in the business of agriculture and the life of rural communities.
Thank you for joining us for our Agri-Pulse Washington Week in Review. I'm Spencer Chase, on location this week in Nashville, Tennessee at the Cattle Industry Convention, where cattle producers and industry leaders from across the country are gathered here to learn more about their industry, get the latest news and updates from NCBA's policy staff, as well as discuss the future of the cattle industry, hear a market outlook, a lot of different things going on here at the Cattle Industry Convention this week. And while we were here in town, flying solo from a reporting perspective, so had the chance to talk with Colin Woodall from the government affairs staff of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, get his opinion on some of the events of the week, and hear what he thinks those events will mean for the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. As promised, we bring in Colin Woodall now with the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. Colin, we appreciate you joining us.
Great to be with you, Spencer.
For starters, some action this week out of the Senate, particularly the Senate Environment and Public Works Committee, seeing some stalling tactics on the nomination of Scott Pruitt, Trump's pick to lead the Environmental Protection Agency. Tactics notwithstanding, the National Cattlemen's Beef Association was out very early with their support of Scott Pruitt. From your perspective, what do you think he brings to the Environmental Protection Agency that gets NCBA members excited?
Well, he brings just a whole new approach to this issue of government regulation. When you look at his track record as Attorney General in Oklahoma, he has spent a lot of effort trying to push back upon overregulation, especially environmental regs and the EPA. So to be able to take that mindset, put it at EPA as administrator, I think really has our members excited, especially when you look at everything that we have dealt with, especially Waters of the United States, WOTUS, and to have not only the new president talking about rolling back WOTUS, but also Attorney General Pruitt, hopefully our new nominee or our new confirmed administrator, gets everybody excited here, knowing that hopefully all of this burden that we've been dealing with will go away.
I imagine top of the list, should you guys have the chance to have a sit down with not Attorney General Pruitt, potentially Administrator Pruitt, imagine top of the list going to be Waters of the United States?
Absolutely. WOTUS is going to be top of mind. We're also going to be talking again about greenhouse gases. We'll be talking about feedlot regulation. There's a lot of issues out there right now, including things such as CERCLA and RCRA, two things that we haven't talked about in quite some time. But I do think that we're going to have a sympathetic ear and to be able to have some productive conversations. It's not about the cattlemen wanting to eliminate all rules and regulations when it comes to environmental quality. That is not the case. We just want a little common sense inserted back into this conversation.
And also on Capitol Hill this week, we saw some action with Sonny Perdue, Trump's pick to lead USDA, taking some meetings with Capitol Hill lawmakers, particularly Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. That's another nominee NCBA was behind kind of in a hurry, was Sonny Perdue. What do you think he brings to the Department of Agriculture for you guys?
I think one of the reasons why we got out there so quickly is we were just thrilled that we finally had a nominee. Everybody in agriculture was getting a little nervous as we got close to inauguration and still didn't have a nominee, and to see that it's Sonny Perdue was really exciting. From one perspective alone, just the fact that he is a veterinarian by trade, and so he understands which end of the cow does what. And I think that will be very beneficial as we have discussions about all of the activities that we engage in with USDA. So we're excited about that. He also has experience making money from being a farmer, which will be helpful. And then of course his experience as being a state legislator and also governor, I think will go a long way in working with developing the relationship with us and with cattle producers across the country.
So in addition to Leader McConnell, he also met this week with some Nebraska lawmakers, as well as previously, of course, meeting with Senator Pat Roberts, the chair of the Senate Ag Committee. And Colin, want to wrap up this week with a topic that's been really front of mind at this convention, and that's the North American Free Trade Agreement, or trade as a broader perspective in general. Former Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack earlier this week was speaking at the International Dairy Foods Association convention, really told the crowd to maybe work their contacts a little bit in Mexico and make sure those good relationships are still being built up. We do know that there were some phone calls, conversations back and forth between President Trump and the President of Mexico. There's some iffy details about what was actually said in those phone calls, but the moral of the story is the relationship between the U.S. and Mexico is not what it once was, and there's potential for renegotiations with trade, diplomacy, things like that. When we start talking potential renegotiations of NAFTA, potential issues with the relationship with Mexico, what does that mean for NCBA?
As you can imagine, it gets us a little nervous, especially when we talk about NAFTA and beef trade. When you look at Mexico and Canada, since the passage of NAFTA, they have historically been two of the top 5 export markets for U.S. product. We as U.S. producers have made a lot of money with that kind of access. So even though there may be some groups out there that want NAFTA to be addressed or possibly revised, we are not one of them. So if it moves forward and actually is discussed, we need to make sure that we preserve the beef provisions as they are, because they're working. We don't have anything to be able to build upon to make it any better. It's as good as it can get. Matter of fact, it's kind of the gold standard when we look at trade around the world with what we have with both Mexico and Canada. So we're going to fight very hard to keep our access if indeed these discussions about renegotiating NAFTA move forward.
And just this trade environment in general that we're now operating under with the Trump administration. We've lost the Trans-Pacific Partnership. There's all these talks of NAFTA. That's got to get your members a little concerned, or am I misreading the sentiment of your membership there?
No, there is some concern, because when you look at our access into Japan, for example, right now Japan's our #1 export market. We're doing that with a 38.5% tariff. But Australia has a bilateral agreement where their tariff is 12% lower than ours. Because of that, our industry, the U.S. beef industry, is losing $400,000 a day. The only tool available to us to fix that was TPP. Now that we don't have TPP, our question to President Trump and his administration is, what mechanism are you going to have next to be able to fix and address these losses that we are seeing? Because if it's a bilateral agreement, then we need to make that commitment and get to work now, because we cannot continue to sustain these daily losses.
Colin, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Spencer.
Now, shortly after we got done with that conversation, we did get some news out of Washington that the Senate Environment and Public Works Committee would suspend its rules and approve the nomination of Scott Pruitt to be the administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency. So his nomination now goes to the full Senate. Still waiting on some news on a full confirmation date, or a full confirmation hearing, I beg your pardon, from the Senate Agriculture Committee for Sonny Perdue. We will be sure to bring all of that information to you as soon as we have it at Agri-Pulse.com. But certainly want to, again, extend our thanks to Colin Woodall for participating in our Washington Week in Review this week. But I think that's going to do it for all the news and updates from Nashville, Tennessee. I'm Spencer Chase. Have a good one.